War is a terrible thing, but sometimes it can also be a source of curiosity and wonder. Let's explore some of the most unusual, brief, and devastating wars in history, and how they shaped the world we live in today. Imagine a war that lasted less time than an episode of your favorite TV show. That was the case for the Anglo-Zanzibar War of 1896, which holds the record for the shortest war in history. It lasted only 38 minutes before Zanzibar surrendered to Great Britain. When the Sultan of Zanzibar died, his nephew Khalid succeeded him without British approval. The British demanded Khalid step down for their preferred candidate, but he refused. After an ultimatum expired at 9 a.m. on August 27, 1896, as soon as the deadline passed, British ships bombarded Khalid's palace, forcing him to flee to the German consulate. The British then installed Hamoud bin Muhammad as Sultan, who acceded to their terms. The war was over by 9:40 a.m., with only one British sailor injured and about 500 Zanzibaris killed or wounded. The war marked the end of Zanzibar's independence and the beginning of its status as a British protectorate. War is always a tragedy, but some wars are more tragic than others. The most tragic of all was World War II, which resulted in an estimated 85 million fatalities, including civilians and military personnel. That means that about 3% of the world's population at the time died because of the war, making it the deadliest war in history. The war involved almost every country in the world and was fought on multiple fronts, from Europe to Asia, from Africa to America, and from the oceans to the skies. The war was caused by the rise of fascism and totalitarianism, and the aggression of Nazi Germany, Imperial Japan, and their allies, who sought to expand their territories and influence at the expense of other nations. The war was marked by many atrocities, such as the Holocaust, the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the rape of Nanking, the Bataan Death March, and the firebombing of Dresden. The war also saw many innovations, such as radar, jet engines, rockets, nuclear weapons, and computers. The war also led to many political and social changes, such as the formation of the United Nations, the decolonization of Africa and Asia, the Cold War, and the rise of human rights movements. The war ended in 1945, after the Allies defeated the Axis powers, and the world entered a new era of history. War is often a time of hatred, violence, and fear, but sometimes it can also be a time of compassion, friendship, and joy. That was the case for the Christmas Truce of 1914, when soldiers on both sides of World War I left their trenches and exchanged greetings, gifts, and play football in no man's land. It happened because the soldiers on both sides were tired of fighting. On Christmas Eve, the German troops started singing carols and lighting candles. The British troops shouted Christmas greetings back. Soon soldiers came out of the trenches and met in the middle. They shook hands, shared food and liquor, and showed photos from home. Some soldiers played friendly soccer games with homemade balls. They were not keeping score. The focus was on having fun. The truce lasted a few hours or days. Then the orders came to fight again. This moment of peace and humanity stood out in the midst of a very brutal war.